What if I told you that making a few simple tweaks to your habits could solve 99% of your daily struggles? It might sound too good to be true, but a few years ago, I discovered a secret cheat code that allows ordinary people to do extraordinary things by harnessing the power of something called the compound effect that I learned about in a book called Atomic Habits. How many times have you started something new and felt super motivated only to quickly give up because you weren't seeing results fast enough? Maybe you tried getting in shape, improving your budget and spending habits, or decluttering your home, but after a few weeks you quit because it felt like nothing was changing. Reading Atomic Habits taught me that success isn't about massive overnight transformations, but rather about tiny daily habits that compound into huge results over time. And so in today's video, I'm sharing 12 atomic habits that can transform every square inch of your home and life if you master them. Starting with habit number 1 on this list, which is the ice cube habit. And if you've fallen into a routine of giving up and quitting new habits because you're not seeing results fast enough, then mastering this mindset is going to be critical for your success. Imagine there's an ice cube sitting on a table in a freezing cold room, and then somebody turns up the heat in that room. At first, it might seem like nothing is happening, and the ice cube just sits there, seemingly unchanged, as the temperature slowly creeps up from 29 to 30 to 31 degrees. But then at exactly 32 degrees, something happens and the ice cube starts to melt. And this is exactly how progress happens. Most people quit at 30 or 31 degrees right before the breakthrough happens because we think that progress is supposed to be linear when in reality it could be weeks, months, or even years where you're putting in the work without seeing visible results. When my husband and I wanted to pay off all of our debt, we didn't just wave a magic wand and poof, $250,000 worth of debt disappeared. It took 5 years of us being consistent with budgeting, tracking our spending, and looking for ways to boost our income before we were able to eliminate all of our car, house, and student loan debt. But when we finally did it, it felt so amazing. So the next time you feel like giving up, whether that's decluttering your home, saving money, or a new diet or exercise routine, remember that ice cube on the table and remind yourself that real progress takes time. Next up, we have the habit of getting 1% better every day. A lot of people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 month and greatly underestimate how much they can do in 1 year. But if you do the math, there are 24 hours in a day and 60 minutes per hour, which means that all of us have 1,440 minutes each day. And if you spend just 1% of that time, or just under 15 minutes per day, trying to improve your life by 1%, because of the compound effect, that means that you'll end up with results that are 37 times better after just 1 year. That's 3,700% better in a single year, just with the power of tiny daily improvements. Think about decluttering your home. It might not seem like that much when you spend 15 minutes to get rid of a couple of items here and there each day, but every single bit of clutter that you let go of is going to add up to major progress over time, and you can double or even triple your progress if you also adjust your spending habits at the same time. And that actually leads me to the next life-changing micro habit on this list, which is called the Goldilocks habit. And the idea behind this habit is to get super picky about everything from what you buy to who you say yes to how you spend your time. Just like the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears, she didn't want to sit in a chair that was too hard or too soft. She wanted one that was just right. And in doing so, that in turn is going to save you a lot of wasted time, money, and energy in the long run. So let's take this metal tea strainer for example. So the story behind this is that my husband and I decided we wanted to switch to drinking loose leaf tea this year after reading a study that found that mini tea bags release billions of microplastics into your tea when brewed. So we decided that once we ran out of the bag tea that we had on hand, we were going to switch to loose tea. So when that happened earlier this month, I went to Whole Foods to look for some loose leaf teas, and I saw these metal tea strainers in the same aisle next to the teas. And I vaguely remember that one of my roommates had something similar to this back when we were in college, So I just assumed that it would be good enough, and I ended up buying two. One for me and one for my husband. But that ended up being a complete waste of $12 because not only do these tea strainers not shut well when you fill them up with tea, but they are also so poorly made that one ended up breaking within days of me buying it. And to add insult to injury, not only did I waste $12 on this junk, but now I also have to spend even more time and money finding something to replace it that actually works. And you might be thinking to yourself, so what? $12 is no big deal. But the same 1% rule applies here. And when we repeat 1% errors over and over again, day after day, all of those tiny mistakes, poor decisions, and crappy excuses can really add up to a ton of wasted money and clutter in your home. So that was a good reminder for me not to settle for things that are just okay. And if it's not a 100% yes, then it should be a no. And that rule can be applied to everything from something as small as what kind of tea strainer to buy to something as big as deciding who we want to spend the rest of our life with. Habit number 4 is the mirror habit, which is based on the principle that our thoughts have the power to shape our reality. Back when I was in college, I studied behavioral and cognitive neuroscience with one of the top female neuroscientists in the USA. And one story that really fascinated me was about a neuroscientist who figured out how to use mirrors in therapy to help alleviate discomfort and pain in people who had lost limbs and who were experiencing phantom limb pain. And so what he would do was he would use a mirror to reflect the intact limb to create the illusion that the missing limb was still there. And then that would trick the brain of the amputee into thinking that they were moving and stretching the phantom limb, which helped them reduce their pain and discomfort. Once you realize how powerful your mind is, you can tap into that power using ancient practices such as affirmations, visualization, and meditation, which is something I did at the beginning of last year to get myself out of a slump when I was feeling depressed, overeating, and ended up gaining about 15 pounds. And 1 year later, not only have I been able to lose all of that weight, but I also feel happier and healthier than ever. And one of the best habits I implemented at that time was adding mindfulness and meditation into my daily routine. And one of my favorite apps for this is called Aura, so I'd like to give a quick shout out to them for sponsoring today's video. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by stress, anxious thoughts, or just the never-ending mental clutter of daily life, then you'll love Aura. Aura is a powerful mindfulness and health app that's used by over 8 million people around the world. And it's kind of like having a personal wellness coach in your pocket. I love using Aura because it's completely personalized. And when you sign up, you can take a quick quiz about what you need, whether it's better sleep, stress relief, or just a little positive daily encouragement. And Aura will create a customized experience just for you. You'll find everything from guided meditations to soothing sleep sounds to short mindfulness moments that anyone can fit into their busy day. One of my favorite ways to use Aura is to sit on our back sun porch and turn on a gentle soundscape or guided meditation that I can listen to for 10 or 20 minutes in the morning, and that practice has done wonders for my mental health throughout the long, cold, and dark winters that we have here in Chicago. Aura's content is created by hundreds of expert coaches and therapists all around the world, so there's really something for everyone. So if you're ready to master your mind and change your life for the better, be sure to click the link in the description box below, and the first 500 people will get a free trial of Aura, plus an exclusive 25% off right now. And thanks again to Aura for sponsoring today's video. Atomic habit number 5 is the onion habit. And this habit requires you to shift your mindset around change. When we want to change our lives, a lot of us start with a goal in mind: saving money, losing weight, or decluttering our home. But actually, change needs to happen in 3 layers. So let's say your goal is to declutter your home. The outer layer is the outcome, aka having a clutter-free home. The middle layer is the process, which are the systems that you need to implement to achieve that goal, such as, say, setting a timer and decluttering for 15 minutes a day. And then the deepest layer is the identity layer, which is who you believe you are. I used to think I was a messy and lazy person, so my cluttered and messy home was a reflection of that identity. But when I committed to changing myself from the inside out, I went from hoarder to minimalist in 3 years and have since mastered the daily habits it takes for me to maintain a simple and clutter free home. And according to the book Atomic Habits, doing this only takes 2 simple steps. Step one, decide the type of person you want to be. And step two, prove it to yourself with a series of small wins. Another atomic habit that changed my life is the habit of exercising every single day. Did you know that only 28% of Americans meet the physical activity guidelines set forth by the CDC? That means that over 70% of us aren't getting enough exercise to stay healthy, which in turn helps us prevent things like chronic illnesses and disease. I know this is something I majorly struggled with after we moved from a walkable city in Europe back to the suburbs of the USA, because I went from getting daily exercise from walking to the grocery store and climbing the stairs of our home every day to having to drive everywhere and getting zero exercise every day. And like I mentioned before, between the drop in daily exercise and the stress eating that I was doing to cope with the move, all of that added up to me gaining around 15 pounds in just a few short months. So at the beginning of last year, I decided to do a 30-day challenge with a friend of mine to wake up early and do a short exercise routine every morning. And doing that made me feel so much better that when I signed my kids up for swim lessons, I ended up joining that same gym. And now I've gradually worked up to the point where I'm doing cardio and strength training 3 times a week. And it all started with that small choice to wake up a bit earlier and add a small amount of exercise into my daily morning routine. That brings us to number 7, which is the action habit. A lot of people get into the habit of waiting until they feel motivated or have everything planned out before they take action. But here's the real secret: action creates motivation. Instead of reading book after book trying to find the best decluttering method, just pick up a bag and start getting rid of stuff. Or instead of looking for the perfect budget spreadsheet and spending hours upon hours watching cash stuffing videos, try taking one small action to improve your finances, whether that's tracking your spending for a week or canceling a subscription that you don't use. Remember, the faster that you act, the quicker you can start seeing those compounding results. So commit to taking imperfect action to make things happen. Speaking of tracking your spending, the next habit on this list is the tracking habit. I'm a big fan of the saying, what gets measured gets managed. And I used to be one of those people who had no idea how much money I was spending each month. And tracking our daily spending was one of the habits that led my husband and I to be able to pay off $250,000 worth of debt in 5 years. And another thing that helped us back then was to do no spend challenges. So now we've kind of made it an annual tradition to do at least one no spend challenge each year. And we always use a printable tracker that I created myself that helps keep us focused and motivated during those challenges. So whether it's your finances, fitness, or decluttering, tracking can help you stay accountable and measure your progress over time. Atomic habit number 9 is the meal planning habit. And creating better habits around meal planning has been a total game changer for our time, health, and budget. Before I figured out how to meal plan, I would just head to the grocery store and buy whatever caught my eye and leave meal planning until it was time to eat, at which point I would be stressed out and scrambling to figure out what to make at the last minute. But nowadays, I set aside just a few minutes at the start of each week to plan our meals and create a grocery list around those meals. And that eliminates the stress of figuring out what to eat, reduces impulse spending at the grocery store, and enables us to make healthier choices. And over time, this simple habit can save you hours in the kitchen, help you eat more nourishing foods, and cut down on food waste. The 10th habit on this list is the declutter habit. Imagine waking up to a calm, clutter-free space every day, a place where you can breathe deeply and feel at peace. The simple habit of decluttering, when done consistently, can completely transform your life. Small daily efforts to clear clutter add up, transforming not just your home, but also your mindset, finances, and overall well-being. And when your space is simplified, your life becomes lighter, more intentional, and filled with joy instead of clutter. The next habit is also related to maintaining a simplified home, and that is the Ohio habit, which stands for only handle it once. And before I mastered this habit, my kids and I used to go about our day like little whirlwinds, leaving small messes behind us everywhere we went, which all added up to a huge mess for me to clean at the end of the day. But since becoming a minimalist, I've made "don't put it down, put it away" my mantra, and instead of dropping mail onto my kitchen countertops and letting it pile up for weeks at a time, the moment mail enters my home, I stand there and sort it immediately, and I trash and recycle as much as I can. And you can implement this habit when you're cooking or doing the laundry or any number of things. Instead of just setting things down, commit to putting them away, and your home will stay tidier with way less effort on your part. And finally, that brings us to the last habit, which is the circle habit. And it seems like this is one of those ugly truths that no one talks about and everyone has to learn the hard way. And I've witnessed firsthand how the circle of people that you surround yourself with can either lift you up or drag you down. A few years after my mom died, my dad tried to quit drinking and even joined Alcoholics Anonymous for a while. But falling in love with a younger woman who was very much into the bar and party scene caused my dad to relapse in a big way. And from there, it was a quick downward spiral back into alcoholism that led to his premature death in his early 50s. There's a saying that goes, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." If you want to be healthy, surround yourself with healthy people. If you want to be better with money, hang out in circles where people are good with money. And if you want to be more organized, find people who value and cultivate simplicity. And the great thing about modern society, and something that we didn't have back when I was growing up, is that if you can't find those kind of people in real life, you can connect with them in online communities and on social media. And in fact, why not do that right now by subscribing to my channel and turning on all notifications so that you don't miss out on all of the helpful videos I share here on the A to Zen Life channel each week. And if you're looking for more tips on how to change your life or habits, be sure and go check out one of these videos that YouTube thinks that you'll like, or I'll see you next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.